green technology can really help protect our planet if it doesn't harm our communities in the process. Hello and welcome. I am Sadhika Tiwari and you're watching Eco India. We need technology that respects nature and expands opportunities that build skills, create fair work and protect our landscapes. Today we look beyond grand promises and big machines to small practical technologies that can also change lives and meet people who are showing us how it's done. India loses a fifth of its total fruits and vegetables simply because proper storage isn't available. But in Odisha's Rourkela, a group of women is changing that, showing how simple use of solar technology can really make a big difference.
Pumpkins, pumpkins, pumpkins. Just 20 rupees for you. It's been a long day for the vendors trying to sell produce at Rourkela's markets. And things get harder as the heat starts to spoil fruits and vegetables that are not sold quickly enough. We would bring our vegetables here in a van and take any leftovers back with us in the same vehicle. About 25% would spoil on the way. At Panposh market in Rourkela, local resident Sumina Sonu Badla has seen what this means for the prices vendors are able to charge.
If the market rate is 40 rupees or about 40 euro cents, they let it go for rupees 10 just to avoid taking it back. Sometimes they'd even have to throw it away. After all their hard work, they wouldn't even recover a day's wage. It left many farmers feeling helpless. Some would even cry.
As one of the largest food producers in the world, India harvests more than 300 million metric tons of fruit and vegetables each year. But a large proportion never makes it out to our plates. That's mainly due to produce going bad due to a lack of storage facilities in a hot country. For the average farmer, it means income loss even when a harvest is good. But a pilot project started by the Rourkela Municipal Corporation has a solution. It has set up solar-powered mini cold rooms across the city. They're run by women like Tulasi Dash.
We charge just 3 rupees or 3 euro cents per day for each crate. That's a small amount and very affordable for farmers. Before, they used to lose hundreds of rupees worth of produce due to spoilage. That was disheartening. Now, for just 3 rupees, they have less waste and earn more.
The localized model aims to disrupt the national cold chain market, which is still monopolized by wholesalers and middlemen. With a minimal charge and easy access, it is specifically designed with the small-scale farmers in mind.
This is a 30 metric ton cold room with 3 chambers, each set to a different temperature range. We have a list specifying the ideal temperature for each type of vegetable, and we store them accordingly in the respective chambers.
The cold rooms run on solar power. This keeps them independent of the electricity grid, which can be unreliable, says its managing director.
The solar panels of all the 5 sets cumulative is around 80 kilowatt. So per year there is a saving of around 1 lakh units. 1 lakh unit saving is done. Yeah, this cold storages are you can see it is a reliable cold storage with 24/7 supply, because in the daytime it runs with the solar energy, and during the night time it has a backup of thermal storage.
And there are tricks to optimize the system, Tulasi Dash tell us. For instance, if tomatoes are picked along with their stems before storage, they stay fresh for longer.
I assist and guide the farmers and vendors who come here, making them aware of the proper steps to follow while storing or removing vegetables from the cold room.
It is still dark when Sumina Sonu Barla starts work. As part of the group running the cold storage units, today is her turn to collect vegetables from the local market and store them in the Panposh market cold room. The cooperative is made up of 10 women. They take turns running operations. That means receiving produce from farmers, maintaining temperature logs, managing deliveries, and running the organic community store.
Before, we didn't have a secure income. Now, I have a regular salaried job. We started with 500 rupees or roughly 5 euros, then 5,000 rupees. And now we are making sales of about 700,000 rupees monthly.
Between 2015 and 2021, India lost close to 70 million hectares of cropland due to floods, excess rains, and drought. In the age of climate change, the need for a robust cold chain ecosystem has become even more urgent, especially for farmers, who are the hardest hit. This project, supported by the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, and Bloomberg Philanthropies, offers some respite to the city of Rourkela. Across its 5 markets, more than 1,500 farmers have access to the cold rooms. Around 500 use them regularly. A UNDP survey reports that over the last 4 years, food wastage in Rourkela has dropped by a third. Another study shows that farmers' incomes have risen in the region. And behind these promising results, a small group of women are hard at work, supporting both themselves and the smallholders in their corner of the country.
For decades, big hydropower projects have come at a very steep cost. Rivers choked, forests lost, communities forced out of their own land. But what if, instead of drowning our valleys, we learned how to work with flowing waters? In our next story, we follow gentler, smaller hydropower technologies that aim to keep the rivers alive and communities rooted.
Imagine standing next to this reservoir, and somewhere underneath the surface lies the town you used to live in. When India built the Tehri Dam in Uttarakhand, up to 100,000 people had to pack up and leave. This is not an unusual story. Hydropower dams are often seen as monuments to progress, though they come at a huge cost. But what if we could harness the immense power of water without having to build destructive megastructures? Let's follow the water, starting from a small creek, accompanying the river downstream and ending at the ocean. We begin our journey here, where the stream is still quite small. We find a little side arm, a canal leading into the stream. In it sits a whirlpool, generating energy. This is a vortex power plant. The idea is simple. Water flows into a round basin. This one is about 4 meters wide. In the middle, a turbine with wide blades. The water swirls down as in a bathtub drain, spinning the turbine, which drives a generator. The result, electricity, but only enough for some 15 average European households. Usually fish the size of a small trout can swim straight through. Compared to big dams that block migration routes, these small power plants have much less impact. Still, these vortex plants can change how the river flows and the habitats within it. There are just about 35 of these power plants in the world. Because they are less efficient than their bigger cousins, their output is naturally smaller too, given their much smaller size. So these plants are best for supplying small communities, factories, or mini-grids. For areas with bigger power needs, they're a hard sell.
One thing is, small hydropower is fairly complicated compared to, let's say, solar.
That's Lydia Powell, a public policy advisor and expert on renewable energies. So, in remote areas with small streams, it can provide local independent energy, especially alongside solar and wind. Our next stop, a big river. Here the fundamental idea is even simpler. Just float a turbine in the current. That's the principle behind the storm buoy or power buoy. It looks a bit like a submarine hull with a propeller. Anchored in the flow of the river, the rotor spins as the water pushes past it, turning the kinetic energy of the river's current into electricity. The technology has been around for nearly 20 years, but many early devices clogged, generated too little power, or couldn't send it to shore. Powerboy's output also dropped over time, and the project was abandoned in 2025. Even so, companies are testing new hydrokinetic designs. Early results look promising, though it's unclear if they can work at scale. But there would be no dams, no flooding, fish could pass freely, and the buoy could be moved or removed. Proponents of the technology see huge potential in big rivers round the world. It might also work in strong tidal currents. An initial analysis by the inventor of the hydrokinetic turbine puts the untapped potential peak output in South and Southeast Asia's rivers at 70 gigawatts. That's the equivalent to the capacity of almost 30 dams, like the one in Teri. So if this technology proves efficient enough, kinetic turbines could eventually become a local and renewable power source. Now we've reached the mouth of the river, the place where fresh water meets the sea. Another interesting hydropower idea is being tested here, osmotic energy. The concept makes use of the different salinity of each water type. This is how it works. An osmotic power plant taps into the natural difference between a river's low salt content and the high salinity of seawater. The two waters are kept apart by a special membrane. Fresh water, shown in green, naturally moves through the membrane to balance the salt levels and pushes up the water on the seawater side. That rise creates osmotic pressure, which can then drive a turbine to generate clean power. This is just one form of osmotic energy creation. Norway built the world's first pilot osmotic power plant in 2010, using that mix of river water and seawater to generate energy. But by 2013, the project had shut down.
The amount of water we needed to transport in pipes, channels, tunnels, whatever, that in itself was very expensive. We have shown that it works, but the next step is to make it commercially viable.
One of the takeaways from the test plant in Norway was that most river mouths likely aren't ideal places to set up such a plant. Osmosis works best where there are even higher differences in salt concentrations.
As long as you have high concentrations versus low, then you can sort of harvest energy this way.
That's Sandra Kentish, a chemical engineering professor and membrane researcher at the University of Melbourne. Today there are two working osmotic power plants in the world, one in Denmark and one in Fukuoka, Japan. Neither uses a difference between river and seawater. The Danish project uses brine from a salt mine. This brine has a much higher salt concentration than seawater. And it's not only regular salt, sodium chloride, that can be used for osmotic power generation.
Sodium chloride, potassium chloride, lithium chloride, it doesn't matter as long as you have a high ionic strength, so a lot of ions, a lot of salt. It doesn't matter what salt it is.
The other existing osmotic power plant in Japan just opened in 2025. Here osmosis works its magic, using treated wastewater and concentrated brine from a desalination plant to power its turbines. The goal is to replace the brine altogether in the future and figure out a way to use seawater instead. Because, well, about 97% of the world's water is seawater. Cost remains the biggest obstacle. The membranes are still expensive and work efficiently only in specific conditions. So electricity from osmotic power still costs much more than other renewable sources. These three examples show that it's possible to harness the power of water in gentle ways and in certain circumstances.
If villages can generate, use and sell electricity, they become economic agents of transformation. I think we need to look at these niche solutions as much because they can affect the demand side of the equation.
None of these solutions will replace huge dams tomorrow, but combined with other technologies, they could add to a clean energy mix and work as decentralized systems 24/7 and in all seasons. And maybe that's the real innovation, learning how to work with the flow of rivers rather than against them.
Power cuts interrupting important work is of course a huge inconvenience. But most of us in India have experienced this at some point. In fact, in my personal experience, Even until some 10-15 years ago, it was very common even in Delhi. Now, in parts of rural India, simple low-cost tech is changing that. Let's see how a stable supply of clean energy can really change villages and help build greener, cleaner futures.
Science teacher Geeta Kumari has a dream to see her village become modern and eco-friendly. I would love for the village to be cleaner. I dream of wider roads that are free from garbage and that our water would be clean. Geeta Kumari lives in Sirsa Machipur, a village in the state of Uttar Pradesh. Although close to the capital Delhi, life here is still very traditional. The 18-year-old works at the local secondary school. She is one of the few women in the village to have completed her education. Today, she is teaching students to convert Celsius to Fahrenheit. Most villagers in Sirsa Machipur depend on agriculture and non-renewable energy. Electricity, if available, is costly and unreliable. Low literacy rates and a large number of students dropping out from high school are persistent problems, because the unreliable electricity makes it hard for students to do homework. India's energy needs are projected to grow by 5.5% in 2025. That could either deepen reliance on fossil fuels or drive a shift toward clean energy, like here in northern India's Palli village, which is now connected to a 200 kilowatt solar-powered mini-grid. Shruti Galhotra is 23 years old and is a software developer. She tells us that the mini-grid has transformed the lives of people in her village. Now, solar power runs automatically. First it goes to the grid, then we get electricity. We can use everything. Motor pumps for the water, we have fans, lights and even refrigerators, all powered by solar energy. Down in South India, Meenangadi village in the state of Kerala is charting its own eco-friendly journey. Farmers plant geotagged trees, tracked by an app for age and health indicators. In return, the panchayat or village council deposits money into their bank accounts on one condition: the trees must not be cut. In many of India's villages, trees are cut down for firewood for use in traditional chulha stoves. However, here in Meenangadi, many families have made the switch to cleaner biogas. Organic waste is converted into methane and CO2 in biogas chambers. The gas that is produced as a result can then be used for cooking instead of using wood. While solutions exist, they aren't always applied. Many solar pumps, cookers and biogas plants go unused and fall into disrepair. Each village has its own unique problems, so we cannot apply a one-size-fits-all model. We need to develop a scientifically sound, yet simple model that local people can understand and implement. Across India, open trash burning is a major source of air pollution. Meenangadi has a different approach and is leading the way with a comprehensive waste management system.
We are achieved 100% of the waste management. Each the wards, they are assigned 2 people to collect the waste in the household level. Then the waste are going to the centralized segregation center in Meenangadi Panchayat. There we have done the process of shredding, baling and separation also. After the separation, we can identify that the color plastic, white plastic, cardboard, thermocol, bottles, plastic bottles and glass bottles, etc.
Geeta Kumari hopes to see this in Sirsa Machipur someday as well. The village ponds should be free of garbage and surrounded by trees and plants. There should be gas supply for women to use in the kitchen, so that they can cook rotis comfortably on gas stoves. Geeta Kumari hopes that step by step, her dream of a cleaner, modern village will come to life.
Weeds are silent harvest killers cutting global crop yields by a third, driving up heavy pesticide use, and actually swallowing large amounts of farm labor. Engineers are now pointing lasers at this problem. In our next story, we explore how AI-guided weeders aim to replace back-breaking work. Let's take a look at the tech, the trade-offs, and who stands to gain.
In northern Germany, a new machine rolls across an onion field, burning away weeds with laser beams. Controlled by AI, this groundbreaking technology targets only unwanted plants. All that's left is a fine layer of ash. It heats the soil a lot, and operators need to be careful not to get burned by the laser beam.
The machine delivers around 24 kilowatts of optical power with each laser at 2 kilowatts. That's enough to cause deep tissue burns within milliseconds, if, for example, you put your hand beneath it.
Stefan Heinrich invented the machine. Growing up on a farm, he knew the problems weeds can cause and wanted a solution. A generator at the front of the tractor powers the laser beams, while satellite navigation guides it across the field. The core innovation is the AI software Heinrich developed as part of his doctoral thesis. The camera system can distinguish between crops and weeds and control the laser beam with pinpoint accuracy. The software recognizes every stage of plant growth and stores millions of bits of information, which it can then retrieve again and again. The cameras are mounted underneath the housing, and the software guides the laser beams to exactly where they're needed.
We work outdoors where environmental conditions constantly change. Some weeds are larger, some smaller, with different leaf shapes. Adjusting all these parameters is very complex. With AI, many of them can be learned and controlled much more easily. That's why AI is a small revolution in this field.
Small-scale carrot and onion farmers could especially benefit, particularly in regions with labour shortages. Germany and the EU are pushing to phase out pesticides and protect pollinators, and this technology offers an ecologically friendly alternative. Stefan Heinrich's partner, Thomas Stangl, works in the new production hall at their company headquarters in Bavaria. The two friends and colleagues founded the company 4 years ago and have since developed a new type of mechanical hoeing machine. It destroys weeds between crop rows with pinpoint accuracy, also using their own AI software.
We like building things, developing something new for farmers. You get to see more than you do as a farmer. It's more fun. You meet others, learn about their problems, and make friends who want to help even more.
Many farmers struggle with a shortage of workers, especially for jobs like sorting potatoes. This machine detects rocks, clumps of soil, and rotten potatoes, and efficiently separates them out. It can save time and also cut labour costs for farmers. The AI software can be used in a wide range of agricultural machines. The goal now is to move towards large-scale manufacturing to enable more farms to benefit from this technology. The two developers are launching machines designed for real-world use. AI software is set to transform agricultural technology in the years ahead. For now, the system is still in its infancy.
That's all for today's episode. Small practical steps often get overlooked, but they do add up. And when they meet the right tech, the impact that is created can really be everlasting. Are you seeing any such local efforts around you that are really making a difference? Tell us. We'd love to hear. And do not forget to follow us on our Instagram at DW_environment for more stories like this.
Dubai chocolate, this gelato and this baklava all have one thing in common. Yep, pistachio. Production has skyrocketed to over 1 million tons last season, especially after this happened.
Delicious.
But there's a bitter side to this sweet craze. To keep up, farmers grow pistachios in monocultures and rely on artificial fertilizers and pesticides. 1 kilogram of pistachios needs more than 10,000 liters of water. It's less thirsty than almonds, but needs more water than peanuts or walnuts. And since pistachios are mostly grown in dry parts of the US, Turkey, Iran and Syria, this can lead to water scarcity. Experts say we should mix pistachio trees with other crops for biodiversity and to keep soil healthy. Plus, it protects farmers in case another ingredient goes viral.
Thank you so much for joining us. I will see you next week with more such stories. Until then, take care, goodbye, namaskar.